Thank you for joining us for this special edition of CBS 6 News at 5, Crime 360. We're taking an in-depth look at the toll of gun violence in Central Virginia and the search for solutions. I'm Julie Bragg.
And I'm Bill Fitzgerald. Crime insider John Burkett and our Candace Burns are field anchoring our team coverage live in Richmond. First, let's send it over to John.
Candace?
Thanks, John. Increases in crime and gun violence don't just impact the communities where they take place, but also the hospitals where the victims are treated. Our Shannon Lilly joins us with that part of our team coverage. Thanks, Shannon. It has been nearly 2 months since Richmond's mayor and city council declared gun violence to be a public health crisis. In doing so, they hope to get more funding and support from the state and federal government. A few weeks later, President Biden said that cities dealing with increasing crime and gun violence could use American Rescue Plan money to hire more police officers and pay overtime. The city has so far received $77 million ARP dollars, but says they're awaiting final guidance from the feds on exactly how this money can be spent.
We are considering a number of ways to use these dollars as an investment. Obviously, gun violence is at the top of the list.
And the city also tells us they're in the process of hiring someone to fill a newly created position, Community Safety Coordinator. John, some police departments are struggling to hire new officers. One Petersburg woman has been eager to join law enforcement. After growing up in the Tri-Cities and graduating with a degree in criminology, she is one of the newest members of the Petersburg police force. Her story is all new at 5:30 as part of our Crime 360 coverage. Why she says landing this job has been in the making her entire life and how she hopes to inspire change with her position. Still a lot to cover. Stay with us as we give you a 360 view from all sides of the gun violence issue. For now, we'll send it back to you, Julie and Bill in the studio.
All right. Thanks, Candace and John.
I'm Candace Burns, joining you live from Radio Hill tonight. Our crime insider John Burkett is standing by to give a little more insight into the recent crime trends in our area. But first tonight, she was born and raised in Petersburg, and just yesterday she headed to the Crater Criminal Justice Training Academy to become a Petersburg police officer. Our senior reporter Wayne Coble joins us live now with more on this very unique story. Wayne?
CBS 6 News. Candace, back to you on.
Our crime insider John Burkett. Now, just about 2 months ago, the city of Richmond declared all of this gun violence a public health crisis, and this is not something that's unique to Richmond. This violence is happening across the country. In fact, President Biden spoke with some mayors yesterday about this very issue, but still, we just came out of a weekend, a very violent weekend. It's still happening in our community despite all of the conversation that's happening. What are your police sources saying about all of this crime?
Well, Candace, this past weekend, of course, not as violent as the holiday weekend. So those are some of the things you're going to have to get a handle on to get this going in the right direction.
So a very, very serious concern here. We definitely don't want to go to those 90s numbers. But you have an incredible position here at CBS 6. You have to go into the community and talk to the families who lost lives. These numbers, they're just not numbers. There are families connected to these people who lose their lives.
Right.
And just recently you spoke to a family from a VCU student who was murdered. You also speak with community activists. What is their message for the people who are watching this and the people committing these crimes?
Well, the VCU student, he's actually had to pull his volunteers out and wait for things to cool down before they can go back.
Okay, I wanted to ask you another question because we've talked about the problems. What are they saying could be the solution to all of this?
Well, the solution is easy, is stop the violence, is put the guns down, talk things out, use a different way to solve your issues. But will that happen? I mean, it remains to be seen.
How to convince people to put the guns down and find another way to solve your problems.
Right.
Thanks, John. And we want to remind you that our coverage does not end here. Tonight, new at 6, we'll take a closer look at the effects of the violence in our community. Our Tyler Lane will speak to a mental health expert about the steps people can take to deal with the trauma this violence is causing in our community. And our Shannon Lilly tells us the strain the gun violence is having on emergency rooms in Central Virginia and the doctors and the nurses who have to treat these gunshot wounds. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio for now.
All right. Thanks, Candace.
Live from the campus of the Appalachian School of Law in Grundy, Virginia, the 2021 Debate for Governor. Sponsored by the Appalachian School of Law and the Virginia Association of Broadcasters.
Welcome. I'm Susan Page of USA Today. It's my honor to moderate this important event, the first debate in this year's gubernatorial contest in Virginia. We're joined tonight by the two major candidates to be the next governor of the Commonwealth. Former Governor Terry McAuliffe, the Democratic nominee, and business executive Glenn Youngkin, the Republican nominee. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Thank you. Joining me on the panel are Candace Burns, anchor at WTVR, CBS 6 News in Richmond, and Dr. Bob Halsworth, founding director of the Center for Public Policy and the Wilder School of Government and Public Affairs at Virginia Commonwealth University. Candace Burns will ask that.
Thanks, Susan. Mr. McAuliffe, the pandemic revealed major problems within the Virginia Employment Commission. The agency has been overwhelmed with claims, and newsrooms around the Commonwealth have been inundated with calls and emails. We're hearing from frustrated Virginians in need of emergency benefits, and they have been left in limbo with no explanation. While the VEC says it has cleared a backlog of appeals, thousands are still waiting for their cases to be reviewed. The agency faces a class action lawsuit. How can you assure Virginians that the VEC will be fixed and will be held accountable when another disaster occurs?
Sure. Next question from Candace Burns.
Thanks, Susan. After George Floyd's murder, widespread demonstration called for police reform and transparency. Both of you have promised to bring people together while keeping Virginia safe. That requires trust and accountability. In March, former law enforcement officials from across the country and the Law Enforcement Action Partnership wrote a letter to Congress calling for an end to qualified immunity for police officers. They argue police need the trust of the people they serve. But they say people don't trust law enforcement because they do not believe police are held accountable. They point to the qualified immunity doctrine, a controversial policy that protects officers accused of violating the Constitution while on duty. Mr. Youngkin, yes. You have promised to oppose all efforts to end qualified immunity for law enforcement in the Commonwealth. What then is your plan to restore and maintain trust in communities where police serve? And how would you make certain that officers who violate the civil rights of citizens are held accountable?
Yes, thank you for this most important question.
Mr. McAuliffe, would you end qualified immunity?
No, I would not end it. It's called qualified immunity for a reason.
Thank you so much, Joe. So we'll be watching those rural areas and see what happens there. We're going to go to our Jake Burns now. He's in Northern Virginia.
That's right. He's been covering the Youngkin campaign, and he's now with their watch parties.
All right. Thank you very much, Jake. Both of the campaigns in Northern Virginia today, both of them have been claiming to be picking up momentum in these last few days, too. So
that is right. Let's check in now with our Cam Thompson.
6 News.
Thanks, Cam. Well, joining us now to break down the races and what we can expect tonight is CBS 6 political analyst Dr. Bob Halsworth.
And Bob.
Dr. Bob, of course, the entire nation is watching Virginia tonight. We have been discussing Chesterfield and how a lot of eyes are on that county as well. Can you explain to our viewers what the voters decide in that area is so important?
Well, typically we've looked.
And as we said, there is a third choice on the ballot this year in the gubernatorial race.
Princess Blanding is the candidate for the recently formed Liberation Party. Blanding at WTVR.com.
We have panelists joining us tonight to talk about the election and the issues that matter to you.
And so we want to welcome Gary Flowers, radio host.
Yeah. So the polls right now are showing a very tight race, and that's all we can go on at this point. Did you both think that this race would be this tight, and what do you think is going to be the determining factor that gets your candidate the win?
I did not think it would.
Can we table this conversation for a
moment? I think we're a little far afield. We're supposed to keep up with the results, and right now we're hearing that 888 precincts are reporting. Back to you shortly.
Right now, though, we want to go to the State Board of Elections. They're holding a news conference right now to give an update on the election and any possible issues. Let's listen in right now.
In Appomattox County, in Floyd.
2% in so far.
We're going to go and talk to former Governor Doug Wilder now. He's with us, and we know, is watching this race, the race for governor, very closely, and he has a lot of insight.
Governor, what do you?
Mr. Wilder, what do you think the biggest factor is that's helping Youngkin in this race? All right, former Governor Douglas Wilder joining us tonight. Thank you so much for your time. As he said, it's still very early, and we have a long night ahead of us.
And one of the other issues on the ballot, not just candidates, but voters in Richmond are deciding whether or not to move forward with the proposal to bring a casino to the south side of the city.
Our Leland Pender joins us live with more on the casino vote. Leland, thank you very much. We'll keep watching. Let's take a look at the numbers. Again, the latest results in the big races in our area. This is the race for governor. You can see Glenn Youngkin leading right now, 56% to Terry McAuliffe's 43%. Pence is blending with 1%. This is with 60% of the precincts reported. Month. Some sports teams and outdoor venues learned from Governor Northam that beginning this Thursday, April 1st, restrictions will ease and they can increase the capacity to 30% at their facilities. That means more fans here at the Diamond cheering on the Flying Squirrels this season. I am here with Todd Parnell. You are one of the voices the community listened to for encouragement, Parney, during the pandemic. And how are you feeling right now?
Well, it's great to have you here. Just you can feel the hope in the air, right?
Yeah, you really can. I see you brought your pants back out.
Hey, I got to always have my pants ready, and they'll be ready May 4th, too.
All right, now the fans, they want to know how they can get into these games. I know there's probably a lot of numbers that you have to work with, people who bought tickets last year, your season ticket holders, and the people who just want to get out and do something finally. Are there enough tickets available for everyone?
Well, the demand's going to be very, very high, Candace. The feeling of community that happens here is real.
That's so awesome, Bernie. We're so happy to see you in your pants, and we're excited to cheer on the Squirrels. Thank you for your time and for letting us be here today, Bernie.
It's great to have you. Thank you. Have fun. Go nuts, everybody.
Exactly. All right. Our COVID 365 coverage continues throughout the evening. Many businesses had to pivot in order to survive the pandemic, including one in Sussex that relies on travelers for sales. So ahead at 5:30, our Wayne Koval shows us what they had to do to stay alive and what the optimists for 2021 are saying. What are they saying? And new at 6, a story of perseverance. A local chef lost her cafe at the very beginning of the pandemic, but she did not quit. How she used faith to turn her situation around and inspire others. Stay with us for those encouraging stories and much more. Back to you in the studio, Robin Julie.